Okay, we're officially starting. Hi, it's Gina Sunderland, Food and Consumer Relations Specialist Dietitian with Manitoba Chicken Producers. Welcome everyone to our Comfort Cooking Facebook and Instagram Live. We are so excited to share a couple delicious, comforting recipes with you tonight, and I am extremely excited to be joined by a very special guest. I am joined this evening by Shauna Lapointe, and she is a meal planning and meal prep pro, and I am going to let Shauna introduce herself and share with everyone why she is so passionate about meal prepping.
Thanks for having me, Gina. So I'm Shauna. I'm the owner of Too Busy Livin'. It's a food blog and business dedicated to helping families master their meal prep. I'm a teacher by day. I'm a mom of 4, so I like to use meal planning and meal prep to make sure our life runs smoothly and to make sure that we get some much needed free time.
Of course, you have a very busy life, and meal prepping and planning really helps, because having 4 kids unto itself and having a career, and then you add this little business on to help all the other busy moms out there. Well, that's wonderful. So Shauna, just before we get into our delicious recipes this evening, I have to ask you, what are probably your 3 or 4 favorite meal planning or meal prep tips that you want to share with everyone this evening?
Okay, so as much as I love meal planning, I don't like to over plan. So I always try to only plan maybe 3 to 5 meals so that we can use the weekend to kind of clear out the fridge and prevent some food waste.
Good idea, yeah.
And another thing I like to do is plan, shop, and prep all on a different day. So just spending some 5 minutes here and there to get organized and get yourself ready for a busy week really helps take away that overwhelming feeling of having to do everything on the same day.
Yes, I can relate to that. I've spent many Sundays where it's like, oh my goodness, I've spent my entire Sunday in the kitchen because I'm just so worried about not being organized for the week.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to spend your whole Sunday in the kitchen, and a lot of us don't have time to do that. So I think about 10 to 40 minutes is enough.
Excellent.
Just prep kind of those meal components that are going to take the longest amount of time to cook on a busy weeknight. Pre-cook your chicken if you want, chop your veggies, do those tasks that take a little bit more time.
Excellent, excellent. I love all those tips. Those are really great. Thanks. Really helpful, really practical, really straightforward.
So do you have some meal prep tips that you like to use?
I do. I have a few tips that I like. Of course, if anyone knows me, they'll know I am a list maker. So I always, as soon as I bring home my groceries from one week, I put out my list for the next week. And anytime I run out of an ingredient, I put it on that list. The other thing I have is another list for meals for the next week. And my kids are older than yours, and they still live at home, so everyone has to put down a meal that they would like for the next week, and then they also have to help make that meal.
That's a great idea. You know, I like to get my kids to do that too. Just give a suggestion. We're not quite at the fully making the meal stage yet, but yeah,
I've seen some great photos where you had your daughter helping you make some of the Manitoba chicken recipes. So that's great too. Yeah. So another thing I like to do is I like to think of that first in, first out concept, and I like to keep a well-stocked kitchen. It's kind of like if you have all the tools in the toolbox, then you can make those wonderful meals.
So what kind of things do you like to stock? I like to do that too.
Yeah, it's always great, because then it just makes it so easy. Go through the manitobachicken.ca recipes and see what ingredients you have on hand and what you can whip up and put together. So I love to have canned tomatoes, a bag of rice, bag of potatoes, some dried pasta. I love to have a block of cheese in my fridge, a big jar of barbecue sauce. That's great to just put over chicken when you're in a big hurry. And I like to have some different cuts of chicken in my freezer.
Absolutely.
Can't be without a pound of ground chicken. So many things you can do. And then, of course, I like to have some of these chicken parts and a whole chicken for our favorite weekend meal. So I like to have a couple whole frozen chickens.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we're going to be using chicken breasts with bone-in and chicken thighs today.
Right. And these are great items to have in your stocked kitchen. So we are going to jump into that first recipes. I just want to welcome everyone again and say, of course, a Facebook Live party wouldn't be a party if we didn't have wonderful prizes. So tonight, we have 3 $75 grocery gift cards to give away to 3 lucky participants just for asking Shauna a question, myself a question, ask us a question about meal planning or meal prep or about these recipes or about Manitoba chicken producers if you want to know more about chicken farming, or share your favorite meal prep tip with us. We'd love to hear from you. We will be engaging with you at the end of our recipe demo. So now, Shauna, I am going to turn it back over to you, and you can tell us what you're going to be whipping up for us tonight.
Okay, so I'm making a sheet pan lemon chicken. I love making sheet pans because you can just toss them in the oven when you get home.
Right.
You can prep them ahead of time. Everything's ready to go. Super quick meal. And while it's baking in the oven, you can go do other things, empty your dishwasher, whatever you need to do.
Exactly. There's always something to do. Right. Okay. So how does this come together?
I have 4 bone-in, skin-on chicken breasts. And I'm going to be adding 4 medium potatoes that have just been quartered.
Okay.
I have 2 small zucchinis. I'm just going to show you here. I've cut it in this is about a 1-inch piece, I would say.
Yeah.
So you want to cut them softer veggies like a zucchini. You want to cut it a little bit bigger so that it doesn't kind of disintegrate when it's cooking. Yeah,
right.
Get mushy. So we like to have it. We like to have it to just still have a little bit of bite to it. So we're going to put in 2 medium zucchinis. I have 2 fresh lemons that are just cut in wedges. And once this is baked, you can just squeeze that roasted lemon on top.
Oh, yes, so good. My favorite part when that comes out of the oven, you squeeze those roasted lemons on top. So delicious.
Yeah, so we're ready to make the marinade now.
Okay.
So what we have equal parts canola oil and lemon juice. You can use fresh lemon juice or bottled lemon juice. This is about 3 tablespoons. So I'm just going to put both of
It's
those
just
in
such
there.
a nice, simple, yet very flavorful marinade, isn't it, Shauna? This recipe is so easy.
Yeah, and this is all basic pantry ingredients, spices, lemons. I always have a bottle of lemon juice in my fridge too, if I don't have fresh lemons. So this is about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder.
Yeah.
About a teaspoon of dried oregano. If you wanted to use fresh oregano, you just double the amount.
Exactly.
About a teaspoon of salt. And about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper.
Yeah, super quick, super easy things that you have on hand in your pantry. And lemon and chicken, a winning combination for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that smells good. That fresh lemon, oh my goodness.
It does smell good.
Yeah.
So we're just going to pour it on and kind of toss it around.
Right.
We're making this on the spot right now, but you can definitely make this ahead of time. And just cover up your bowl and store it in the fridge. And that just lets the marinade soak into the chicken. Yes, it does. And give it some great flavor.
Perfect.
So we're just going to toss this around a little bit, kind of get the flavors all together. I like to place the chicken first and just kind of evenly space it out on our tray.
Right.
So we're going to do that.
Okay. Looks good. Yeah, you got that nicely coated so quickly. This recipe's neat too because you can actually bake chicken at a fairly high temperature and it still comes out nice and tender. So this recipe, you bake this at 450 degrees for about 35 minutes. And then when it comes out of the oven, I let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then like Shauna said, take those roasted lemon wedges and squeeze them over the chicken. The best way though to know that your chicken is properly cooked is to have a digital meat thermometer. So for chicken parts like Shauna and I are working with today, so bone-in or boneless, your chicken should be cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. And you insert the probe of the meat thermometer into the thickest part of the chicken meat, and that's how you know it's perfectly done. Because you don't need to overcook chicken either and dry it out, but you don't want to undercook it. So that's why this is my favorite kitchen tool, Shauna.
I agree. That's a great tip.
Okay.
We're going to be cooking this at about 450 for 35 minutes. If you wanted to reduce that cooking time, you could use, say, boneless, skinless chicken breasts and slice them a little bit smaller. But again, use your thermometer to check that the chicken is properly cooked.
Yeah.
So everything, I've kind of spread out the chicken and the veggies on the tray. Another great tip for sheet pan meals is if you like your potatoes a little bit crispier, a little bit more crunchy, you can have everything spaced out or even spread it onto 2 separate pans. So when your veggies and your chicken are close together, that just kind of allows for more steam and kind of gives the veggies a more steam texture.
Okay, good point. So if you like things a little crispier, more like potato wedges, 2 pans is a great way to go for this recipe. And Shauna, we were talking earlier, we both love this recipe and made it many times. And you've used different vegetables in this recipe too, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use mushrooms, cauliflower, broccoli, peppers, really anything goes with lemons. So it's a great versatile marinade.
Right, and one of my favorite ingredients is instead of the zucchinis, because one of my kids does not love zucchini, I'll add carrots, roast carrots. Delicious.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, my kids won't be fans of zucchini either.
So you swap it?
Yeah, I swap it, or I just make it as it is, and they'll eat the potatoes and the chicken. So it's still one meal for the whole family, and everyone still gets a little bit of what they.
Very easy to deconstruct a sheet pan meal. So very nice, one pan, so simple, all the things that you need.
Yeah. Okay. So when the sheet pan comes out of the oven, I have just some lemon pepper here, and you can just sprinkle that on the chicken. I mean, you could probably add it to the marinade, and it would still be okay, but it just adds a nice finishing touch.
Very nice finishing touch. Oh, that looks delicious, Shauna. It's excellent. So now I am really excited to share with you the recipe. This is a chicken with apricots, rosemary, and ginger. It is a delicious, warming recipe. It has Moroccan flavors, and I'm just going to turn my pan down a little bit. I've done one step ahead, but I will talk everyone through it. And so for those of you that are just joining us, welcome to our Manitoba Chicken Producers Facebook and Instagram Live this evening. Shauna Lapointe and I are cooking Manitoba chicken comfort foods, and I am just starting into our chicken with apricots, rosemary, and ginger. So you start this out with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about 1 tablespoon of butter.
That butter will add a nice salty flavor to that.
Yeah, creamy, kind of salty flavor. It's not a lot, but it goes a long way. Then 1 finely chopped onion goes in there. Start to saute your onion. And then to this recipe, you add a tablespoon of fresh chopped ginger. Or sorry, fresh chopped. You do add a tablespoon of fresh chopped ginger, but I've got my tablespoon of fresh chopped rosemary.
So if you wanted to use dried rosemary, Gina, you could just use about half.
About half, so about 1.5 teaspoons. Yep, and then I do, Shauna, actually have a tablespoon of fresh chopped ginger. Oh my goodness, one of my favorite things is the combination of flavors with this recipe. Fresh ginger, one of my favorite things. And then we've got a couple cloves of minced garlic, and about half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of pepper. So it's just that simple. And then the next step would be to take 8,
that smells so good.
It does it. 8 skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs, and then you would brown them for about 5 minutes per side. So what I've done to just save a few minutes this evening is I browned these chicken thighs for us already. So I'm adding 8 skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs, and you can use the skinless, boneless as well, and you just reduce your cook time a little bit because it does cook faster. But you know, something that's neat about the bone-in cut is it really imparts a lot of flavor into the chicken, and it's a little bit more of an economical choice often too.
Yeah, we like to use thighs and drumsticks a lot.
Nice and tender, and you know what? They're actually higher in iron than white chicken meat, and that's great for growing kids. That helps protect against anemia. Okay, so I'm going to turn this down a little bit here. Got our chicken thigh. So the next step in this recipe is you have 1 cup of your Turkish dried apricots. Love those. Love a combination of savory and a little bit sweet. You just tuck those into the chicken, and then you have your canned tomatoes. So this is a large can of tomatoes. Pour that in. So Gina, there's a lot of store-bought shortcuts that you can use for this meal as well.
For sure.
Like say the frozen chopped onion. You can also prep that yourself.
Yes.
And just keep it in the freezer.
I do that all the time. If my onions start to sprout a little bit, I take them out, chop them all up, and freeze them. Put them in a freezer bag.
You use your food processor to make it go super quick.
Right.
Also, dried garlic, jarred ginger,
For sure.
dried rosemary, cinnamon sticks. These are basic pantry ingredients, so you can throw this meal together without having to run to the store.
You're right, right. And it's just such a nice combination of flavors. And you know, if you didn't have apricots, you could use raisins.
Oh yeah,
Right,
for sure.
You have to have those on hand. So this recipe also calls for a couple chopped chili peppers. If you like the heat, then chop them up. For me, I'm a little bit of a chicken. So what I do is I just add the whole peppers and then I just let it bake. So the way this works is this will come up to a boil. And when it comes up to a boil, Shauna, what you do is you put the lid on and you pop this chicken in the oven at 375 for about 40 minutes. And it comes out just beautifully like our finished dish here. So like I said, there's a beautiful combination of tart tomatoes, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sweet, so the sweet and savory, love contrasting flavors. Before you pop it in the oven, you put about 1 tablespoon of honey and give that a little stir. And then
the last step before this goes in the oven is you tuck a couple cinnamon sticks right into there. If you didn't have cinnamon sticks, you could just put a little sprinkle of cinnamon in there.
Sure.
Yeah,
a quarter teaspoon or something.
right. So that brings that Moroccan flavors all together, and then this just slides right into the oven here. And in 40 minutes, oh my goodness, things are going to be smelling absolutely divine around here.
So with both of these meals that we made today, Gina, another meal prep tip that we could use is to just maybe throw in some extra chicken breasts or chicken thighs, throw that into the oven while they're cooking, and then you can shred them up and freeze them for later.
Right, and make all kinds of great recipes, tacos, quesadillas, pulled chicken sandwiches. Hey, you know what my favorite meal prep tip with this chicken and apricot is to make it double. I use a big pot. I double all the ingredients. When it comes out of the oven, I portion off half and I freeze it in a freezer container, and then it is just perfect for one of those really busy weeknights. Take it out of the freezer the night before, thaw it in the fridge, and away you go.
Yeah, and that's awesome for just getting ahead. I always like to try to get ahead on the weekends. So
me too.
Something like a double duty recipe is really good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Those are really great. Hey, Shauna, you told me that you've tried this recipe and you've deconstructed a little bit different than the way it's done in the pan, right?
Yeah, so you can actually make this as a sheet pan meal. Instead of the canned tomatoes, I would use grape tomatoes. All the same flavors. You use the same ingredients for the marinade. And then I would maybe just dice the apricots and put them on top when it comes out of the oven, just so they don't kind of dry out.
Good, yeah. I love when those little grape tomatoes roast on the pan. Delicious.
Yeah, it's
excellent.
A really great combination with the chicken.
Great. So those are our two wonderful Manitoba chicken recipes that will bring a lot of warming comfort to you and your family. And I mean, this is the perfect time of year for it, because we all need a little bit of warming comfort right about now. So we are going to open the floor to your questions. We always love this part. We love hearing from all of you. We thank all of you for tuning in.
Okay, so the first question is, what are your favorite kitchen hacks for saving time but not compromising on healthy options?
Okay.
All right. Well, do you want to start with that one, Shauna?
That's a good one. Using frozen veggies or pre-cut veggies. I mean, that's kind of something that plays into your budget as well.
Right.
But having those on hand, I always buy pre-cut broccoli, frozen cauliflower. Even for my kids, I always put out a veggie tray. If you don't have time to chop those veggies up yourself, use a store-bought veggie tray. You're still getting all those nutrients.
And it's worth that investment, isn't it? If you can afford to do that and you can't afford the time and still get those wonderful veggies in. I'm a big fan of raw veggies and veggie sticks year-round. It's sort of a summery food, but I think it's a great year-round food, and I love to do the same thing where I'll prep a whole bunch of fresh veggies to have as veggie sticks, maybe with a dip, and then after we've had those a couple evenings, if there's leftovers, I make them into a stir fry.
Yeah, that's a great
Add your chopped chicken, stir fry those veggies, add in an onion, a little bit of like that chopped garlic, like you said, jarred or frozen, and away you go.
And that's a good way to prevent food waste as well.
Exactly.
Something else I like to do with the veggies is kind of make a veggie tray out of no prep veggies, snap peas, grape tomatoes, things that are already ready that you don't have to prep.
Right. Those are a couple of my absolute favorites too. And those can go in kids' lunch boxes, can't they?
They do.
Nice and easily. Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks.
So the next question is, how long can cooked chicken be kept in the freezer?
Oh, cooked chicken. That's a great question. Yes, you can keep cooked chicken in the freezer for 3 months. So what I like to do is like Shauna said, you can throw some extra chicken breasts, or if you're using chicken thighs to make that sheet pan, throw a couple extra on that pan or double that recipe. And then after, you can take that chicken. I like to either shred it, cube it, chop it, or have a variety, and put it in a freezer bag and label it. So I know what it is, if it's dark meat, if it's white meat, if it's shredded, if it's cubed. And I like to freeze in about 1 cup portions.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of recipes on our website, manitobachicken.ca, where you use cooked chicken. We've got tropical chicken taquitos, we've got chicken lime and cheese quesadillas, we've got a variety of pizzas. So there are so many great ways to use that cooked chicken, and